What's going on, everybody? It's Ted again with the Countdown to the Geeks.com, coming to you from arguably the best karaoke room in Austin, the Red Room, which is decked out like Twin Peaks. Joining me today for our Fantastic Fest interview is Joseph Kahn and Brandon Routh, star of the new film ICK. What's going on, gentlemen?
We're trying a new interview style in the car.
I
Super,
love it. I
super
absolutely love
simple.
it. How has your time been in Austin so far? Talk to me about it.
Fantastic. Buddy loves the movie. We've eaten well and a little hot, but other than that, fantastic and loving the festival.
I mean, I live 2 hours away from here, so it was a nice drive, and I always like doing this drive to Austin. It's really pretty, and I love showing this movie in my home state.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's arguably the coolest film festival in the world. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad you guys are here. Talk to us about ICK. Joseph, I don't remember if I saw that you wrote this film, but what inspired you or what brought you onto the project?
I'm one of the co-writers on the movie, but there's a guy named Sam Lasky who I collaborated on the first draft, and he sort of did the legwork of the whole thing. And we started this actually right after the premiere of Bodied. And I was just trying to figure out what my next movie is. I was working on a few things, and I had this idea for the way that we deal with monsters today. Because, monsters are always metaphors. They're metaphors for something, whether Godzilla is the atom bomb, and King Kong is the ancient, attacking the industrial age. And the big question in all those movies is, what if the monster attacks? And I think in the past, as you've seen in the modern day, the monster does attack. You know what people do? Nothing. Like we just kind of live next to it. We kind of like, we
Yeah.
don't necessarily, it may be a combination of giving up. It may be a combination of a survival instinct that we just got to live our lives. And there's positive and negatives in both perspectives. But ultimately, the entire idea of a monster that's here and no one really cares, I thought was a really funny idea. And that was the initial germ of the idea.
I love that, especially the pun, right? Germ, is that pun intended right there?
Yes, pun intended.
Brandon, the first time you and I spoke, I remember something that you said. You always wanted to try more comedies. And so I feel like this is something you might have been waiting for or you aspire to be a part of. Talk to us about your experience being a part of like this horror comedy project.
Yeah, and that was a huge part of the decision for me. If Hank wasn't funny and humor wasn't a big part of this movie, I wouldn't. I don't think I would have said yes, even with Joseph Kahn directing. Maybe I still would have, and I would have tried to really make it funny, but that was a huge thing, and I had a great time with it. And Joseph was very, very open, helpful in allowing more comedy to come out in the scenes because it's funny when you have a certain kind of gross thing and you can kind of make light of it in a humane way. If it's possible with ick. It's that's amusing. It's entertaining and it's also interesting. So I was very grateful to be able to do that and also work with Joseph and be a part of the kick-ass film.
Absolutely. Mena Suvari is also a part of this film. I love seeing her in more things because I've so missed her. Talk to us about the collaboration with Mena and also the chemistry between Mena and Brandon.
So, I was lucky to get Brandon. We were able to, one of our producers reached out and said, I know him. He's from Iowa. I'm from Iowa. And, I was able to pitch this crazy idea to Brandon. And it's not in his normal field, so, it was just a big question of whether he wants to do this weird indie film that's a horror comedy about a non-existent IP, right? And he said yes, and that was great, and so now I was looking for his counterpart, and basically she had to be, because the movie takes place over 20 years, and it starts off with him pining for the ultimate girl in the 2000s, the ultimate cheerleader, the ultimate girl of your dreams. And I was thinking, like, going back 20 years, like, who is that girl, And that girl is the girl in American Beauty. That's Mena Suvari. There's literally a poster saying this is the fantasy girl that you won in the 2000s, right? That's literally what the movie, and it won Oscars and all that stuff. But I was like, we're never gonna get Mena Suvari. That's ridiculous, So we need a Mena Suvari type, And we were looking for Mena Suvari types until it turns out that I had a mutual friend with Mena, and so we reached out to her, and then Mena said yes. And so we no longer had a Mena Suvari type. We had Mena Suvari. So it's like perfect casting. Literally, it's like you cannot get better casting than Mena Suvari for that particular role. And now you've got two amazing comedic actors. You've got Mena and you've got Brandon. And now those two get to do comedy scenes together. Like, what a joy. Like, regardless of whether I made the movie or not, I want to see that movie. I want to see those two go head to head.
Yes, I do too. I'm thinking about it now. I'm not having to play teenagers, or like people that don't like each other so much, maybe. But she's fantastic.
And yeah, talk about your collaboration with Mena on set. What was that like?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was cool for me on a perspective that, like, when I came out to LA, that was when this was 99, 2000, which was when she was in her kind of heyday, and kids my age were being very successful. And I never worked with her. I don't think I ever met her. If I did, it was very much in passing, only until we did this movie. And so I thought it was kind of a cool, like, I felt like I was kind of the part of the cool club of the kids who were teenagers, because I missed that phase. I was like 5 years out of, you know what I'm saying? Like
you and me both, absolutely.
Yeah. The same thing in high school. Like, I didn't have, like, I was more cool after high school, and high school was bad. But life gets okay, kids. It's better after high school.
Oh
yeah. So anyway, wrapping that story up, Mena's awesome, and she's wonderful to work with. Very hilarious, and yeah, she's awesome.
So I will say directing Mena and Brandon are actually two different beasts. Yeah, because Mena is she's one of the great comedic actresses in history. When you say Mena Suvari, there's a picture in your head of how she moves and she acts and stuff like that. And when you meet her in person, she has this sort of very laser-like focus in terms of what she does and how she does, and it's very interesting. Actors are special creatures. They really are. They all come with their own little universes and their little bubbles, and then you're trying to put these two bubbles together, right? And so the way you direct Mena wants to know exactly what is the point of the scene. Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to hit? And how do you want me to hit it? And she can get there, right? Brandon, that doesn't work, because if you do that, you're going to mess up his vibe, Brandon has to feel it. Brandon has to go inside out, So there's no purpose to Brandon. It's like, like Brandon wants to literally just, he needs to, like, be realistic, and it needs to come, like, it's not a technical process for him. It's like an emotional process. So if I give Brandon too many beats, it's going to mess up his whole process. So on a certain level, it's like you let Brandon sort of discover it for himself, and let him get there, and he will do it. He'll say, I don't have it till he has it. He goes, that was the one. I'm going, absolutely, that was the one.
I like this talking about me in the third person.
He's not even there. He's not even there.
Yeah. No. But I love everything you're saying. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's kind of like you would give me an emotional, when we found the right emotional story or way in that I could connect Hank with an experience Brandon has had, and when they line up and you get Voltron, then it's like, that's it. And then I don't have to think about what an actor would do, like, moment before. Oh, and the smell of my home when I was a child, and then puts me into this state, and I don't have to do that stuff. I'm sorry, I didn't make fun of that. But it's just, oh, Hank, we're here. I know we're in this scene, and I have that emotion that Joseph has gotten me to in the correct way. And it's Hank. Sorry, I didn't say that very well. But
it's funny, sometimes, like, have you seen the movie yet? You haven't seen the movie yet, have you?
I have not. I hope to see it sometime this week. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't want to spoil the movie for you.
Oh, please.
But there's a scene. There's scenes like when Brandon has to cry, and sometimes, and it's funny. He's got this amazing instrument, and he can cry like a dime at times, But to get the right type of crying, right? That's tricky, because you don't, everyone just cries the same way. And I remember there's one scene, and Brandon was trying to figure out like what the emotion of it. And you know what I did for him? I played a song. It's a secret song, by the way. You'll see it in the movie.
Gotcha.
And that hit the emotion with him. So Brandon is such a very specific instrument, you know?
Sure.
Like if you get him to feel, he will act, you know? So it's a very interesting way how you play Brandon's instrument, you know?
I
Brandon,
spend a lot of time. I have ADHD. I spend a lot of time disassociated, so it's like getting back into my body. Acting is very therapeutic. That's why everybody should take acting class, learn about themselves, other people, and ask questions about why would a person think that? Why would a person ever say that? Then you might understand. Anyway, we're not here about that.
Well, I was going to ask, did you always know that about yourself, that you sort of need to naturally feel a character or feel a scene?
No, I didn't know. No, I didn't know that. No. Stumbling for a long time in my career, found things that would work, and some things were easier because when you have a character like Clark Kent, who it just is part of me, when I can stop acting and just like let that part of me be Clark, that's when I would be better at Clark, or any character. It's like Hank is within me. That's authentic Hank to me. Like that's how Hank felt about that in that situation. And I didn't choose that that's exactly how I was, the level of it. I kind of like the idea that Joseph helped me find that, because it's both of our thing, right? And he knows the tone. He knows the tone so much better because it's such a visual technical style that he's telling so much of the story through the camera movement, through the music, through all the sound, through everything I don't even know. He's got it on his head. I'm just the actor. And if I am just like, this scene should be played this way because I felt this way because this thing, I might be right, but also I might be really wrong because he's got a bigger picture of it. And if I can trust and be vulnerable enough to trust him to get me to that emotional spot, then maybe it's the right one. That's a unique relationship, that just.
I love hearing that. That's brilliant. Joseph, was there any point in time or name a specific additional moment other than the crying moment where you felt that Brandon really brought Hank to life or elevated the character that you already had predetermined in your mind?
There's such a natural charm to Brandon, and you'll see it in the movie. And I think no matter what anyone says about the movie, I think everybody walks away going, Brandon is amazing in it, And I'm not just saying that because I directed it, because that's literally what people are saying, And it's like the scenes where he does nothing, right? Like he's still so watchable, Like it's like sometimes if like some actors need like crying and action and like just anything to do it, and Brandon can just be sitting there talking to students and it's fun to watch, Like remember, this is the guy that had the funniest scene in Scott Pilgrim, which is a great movie with some great actors, and he stole that movie, right? And it's effortless the way he did it, and that humor I tapped into here. I don't think he gets to show it as much as he should, but he's one of our great comedic actors. And so just a very simple scene of him talking to students is fireworks.
Every time, or I'm not earning my money.
I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds. I want you to sell this movie as best you can to the audience. Why should they check out ICK when it drops in theaters? Go.
You want to start? Okay, so look, I made this movie as one of the hardest types of movies to make, and that is PG-13 horror. Okay, look, we live in a world where every horror film is so extreme now and so negative and so everything. But who's making movies for the kids? The crossover, the starter horror, right? We can't go from this to like a serial killer movie right off the bat. And I love these movies. I love all of them. They're all great. They're all fantastic. I love horror. But we got to start somewhere with these kids. We can't lose them. It'll be like what happened to comic books, where they like only 45-year-old men read it because it's so hard to penetrate those stories. And before it's too late, we need to talk to the kids, because you don't want the next generation to ignore films, right?
Absolutely.
So here's the reality. Like when you hear a song and it's like got all these beats and riffs from like songs you've already heard before, and you're like, that will never be as good as the songs I heard when I was a kid.
Right.
Well, but for those kids, it's the first thing they're hearing it. It's their experience. You cannot take that experience away from them. You are both valid, right? So this film has that element to it. It's reintroducing things that we've seen before to kids in the way that they speak it. But we do have things for the adults too. There's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of in jokes that I think the older people will get and the younger people will get. But at the end of the day, hopefully it's something that bridges both gaps and we can all enjoy together. And I think that's an experience that is desperately needed. And also, ultimately, I think it's a film with heart, and it wears a little bit on its sleeve, and it's a positive, fun experience. And I made it because I want to see that movie, and I think a lot of other people do too.
Tremendous, brilliant. Brandon, anything you'd like to add?
I made the movie because I wanted to see the movie too, because this is the kind of horror genre film that I enjoy, that has still has heart and the human spirit in it, and that can teach us something if we're ready for it, but also just be fun to eat popcorn and laugh with our friends. And this is a movie that, if I wasn't in it, put in a friend of mine who would do a good job in this movie, and I would love seeing this movie because I'm a product of this movie, of the generations, that Joseph is paying homage to in this, and it's bringing those two things together. Because one of the best things to do with my son, is to show him movies that I love from my childhood, and to have him share that we have a shared language of film and story. So
I love that as well. Well, ICK, coming soon. I cannot wait to watch it. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Brandon, again for taking the time to speak with me. Brandon, I am very happy that you're getting to do more comedic projects, just like you had told me that one time, last time that we talked. And thank you guys both for joining me during Fantastic Fest. This was great.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Thanks for getting the word out. Good to see you again.